All right, I'm Daniel. This is the ATX, the brand. Thanks for tuning in. So today we're talking about Godaddy. So I call Godaddy to have the best brand change of all time. Now, I'm 32 years old. I graduated high school in 2005. Godaddy, when they first came out, well, I'll put it like this. When Godaddy first started putting out a lot of advertisements and doing a lot of marketing, specifically advertisements, Super Bowl commercial, and just commercials on TV. Back in 2005, those times it was more TV related as opposed to now. I thought Godaddy was a porn site. And I say that because the very first commercial that I seen, it was a woman, all her stuff was out. I think it was, matter of fact, it was a commercial specifically. When did Janet Jackson perform at the Super Bowl? I forget that. There was
maybe a decade from now.
Yeah, it was probably was. So I remember they kind of imitated a kind of tried to do the thing from the Super Bowl with Janet Jackson when her little clip fell off or whatnot. And they had a commercial, and it was a lady. She's sitting. She had like this spaghetti strap Godaddy tank top shirt on. I don't know if that's spaghetti strap. I don't know. But anyways, it was like this tank top shirt on. And she said something like she was sitting in some kind of like political room or courtroom or something. And the judge said, "What did you have to say?" And she stands up and raises her hands and does something, and just like it flops off. It doesn't show anything, but it flops off. And it was kind of going back to the Super Bowl. But any of the commercials that I've seen were all very like, it was sexual with everything, and it always had these women on it. And of course, the name, if you divide it up, Godaddy, it doesn't sound like a tech company. And so this was back, of course, like when I remember them back in like 2005. I know they was doing Super Bowl ads, but they really kind of brought a name on themselves. And I'll get to the brand message, but they drove a lot of traffic to their website, and they created a brand based on controversy and really like sexually appealing women. That's literally what it was based on, and had nothing to do with what they actually do. Now, this isn't like a Coca-Cola and we talk about having a fun time and enjoying a moment and you share a Coke. This is literally like left field from everything that they did. And the commercials, we'll talk about some of the commercials as well, but I'm gonna talk about the earlier years, and then I'll dive a little bit into kind of like what they do present day. So the earlier years, as I said, I remember Godaddy, it was very sexual. It had a lot of women. The women always had on these little tank tops. I think Julian Michaels, it was some woman, it's like a WWE woman, I take that back, not Julian Michaels, a WWE woman, I forget who it was, but she was in one of the commercials. But that's what they centered their brand around. Now, I'm not here to bash Godaddy because, in all honesty, what they did actually worked. Now, they drove so much traffic to their website once they ran these commercials. And I don't know how many people actually bought a domain name, but what I can tell you is that they got a ton of traffic to their website, and it brought them a lot of attention. Now, I'm kind of read something, which is an article. It's a business article on LinkedIn by Paul Petron. I don't know how to say his last name, but I was doing some research, and he had some interesting facts that I knew about, but I just want to make sure I have in front of me. So the Super Bowl commercial, it featured diva Candice Michelle. That was the WWE lady, and she was in a tank top. He used the word scantily fitting. But they had so much traffic drawn to their brand from it, and people paid attention to it. And the audiences were mainly guys. It drove a ton of traffic to the website, and it was mainly guys. Now, during this time, there's so much controversy with this, but during this time, especially in 2005, the main entrepreneurial people were gonna be guys. It was not women. So now this is me kind of, I'm elaborating. These aren't details that I found online. This is me looking at everything that they did, looking at the demographic at that point, and saying like, this is more than likely the people that they want to attract. During the time period, 2000, 2005 area, around that, most of the entrepreneurs that had the faith, should I say, and business owners were guys. I'm not saying it wasn't women. I'm saying that the main people that they were trying to attract was guys. These guys were going to need a website or something like that. They knew that if they put women in front of a man with a name called Godaddy, and it's a woman that has on a tank top and showing a lot of cleavage and all types of stuff, most of the guys are going to go to the website. I mean, this is, I'm not even going to be careful with it. I'm just going to be honest. It's kind of brilliant from the standpoint of this is going to get our target audience to where we want them to go. A lot of the target audience, more than likely, was not, I'll put it like this, the most of the traffic that they drove probably was not their ideal target audience. Because it actually came off like a porn site, probably got a hell of a lot of teenagers on it, and it was a lot of guys on it, but they probably still drove a lot of entrepreneur guys to it, and it did huge for their brand. So I'll give you a few facts right here. By 2012, so they ran, when GoDaddy started running Super Bowl commercials in 2005, few people knew about the company. So they looked to make a splash running ads like this one, and we're going to pay this ad. Now this says that frankly, the advertisement worked as GoDaddy became one of the most well-known tech companies in the United States. By 2012, more than 80% of Americans had familiarity with the brand. That's by 2012. So in 2005, no one even knew about GoDaddy. It was not that many people knew. They ran these controversial sexual ads in 2005 during the Super Bowl. Of course, that's when most people are going to be watching it. This is in 2005. It's not now in 2019 to where, we're in 2020. It's not in 2020 to where people are looking more on their phones than the actual TV, or they can fast forward through commercials. So they created all of these knowing people are going to pay attention to them. And then by 2012, you're talking about 80% of Americans had some familiarity with the brand. That is massive. Like 80% of Americans don't even need to know about it, but they did. But of course, it was based on the ads and what they put out. Like, this is the brand that they structured. Don't get me wrong. I always say this. Marketing and advertisement is completely different than what your brand is, or branding. Marketing and advertisement drives traffic and eyes and attention to your brand. What you set your brand up at, how you set your brand is the message that you want to relay to people. But the marketing and the things that you put in place is what's basically carrying that message. So this is the message that they did. Now, you had this completely different kind of switch that they had. They had a new CEO come in, and in 2013, the company decided to go in a completely new marketing campaign, and then they went with different commercials. The bottom line is that in 2012, GoDaddy had an employer branding problem. Now, this is completely different. This only caters to certain people if you're watching this right now. They had an employer branding problem. Now, employers these days is completely different. It's very competitive, because I was reading the statistic before, and I think like over the average American's lifespan, I think they'll have like 8 different jobs, 12 different jobs, 8 different careers or something like that. Not just jobs, but careers. But it's very competitive. But GoDaddy had a situation to where they couldn't get some of the top talent, which is women, because they've created this brand that this is how we view women. So as a woman, if you care about yourself as a woman and you're in the tech industry or whatever you can do to work for GoDaddy or a tech company, you will hesitate working for that company because you're going to feel like they don't value me. Or if they do value me, this is what they value me as. One of the commercials that we show, it's, the guys walking through an office. Like at GoDaddy, we take it serious with tech and blah, 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 blah. And even our marketing, when he opens the door to marketing, it's like all of these women with tank tops on, very provocative, and it's just visually, you've seen the commercial, we playing it here, but it's basically showing this is what we think of women. When you see when he's talking about the tech parts and the engineers and everything, you see guys in suits and collar shirts sitting down working. Or there's one ad, and there's a guy in the ad, and the guy's kind of like this geeky, curly-headed guy, and he's typing, and then a woman is sitting there, and she has a tank top on. And it's basically giving the message, the brand message, that the people that actually do things that are serious are the guys. The people that just makes you look, come here and look, are the women, because this is what we use them as. So they had this huge branding problem that they had to change. So now they have to change their website, because now you can't have women on a website that are looking the way that you're structuring it as. And now you have to put out a whole bunch of different type of marketing. Again, the marketing and advertisement that you put out now has to be based on, we value women. This is what our company is actually about. The woman is just as important as the man, etc. So now they have to go through this completely different brand change and brand direction. And I'll kind of read out a couple things because their efforts, and even now today, their efforts still run to getting more women involved. Some of the 4 things: 1, Godaddy become visible and outspoken at women and tech conferences, bi-quarterly events for their female employees. They use training and software tools to remove biases from managers and recruiters, and became active in colleges to ensure women engineering students graduate. Now, this helped them as a company, this helped them as a community, and they had to completely change their brand message, right? Now, internally, maybe they didn't think to themselves like, no, we value women just as much as a man. Like, they have just as much talent. Some of them are going to have better talent. But what I talk about all the time, the marketing and the advertisement is what presents your brand message. And when that doesn't align with your corporate and company brand, it contradicts itself. Now, in today's society, you have to be a lot more careful. I can tell you now, if they ran commercials like this in 2020 or any time 5 years back, it would be, all right, don't worry about that. Camera's back on me now. If they ran that from 2020 or 5 years back, they would get scorched. I'm talking about they would tear them up. I mean, you think about people that have a big brand that even said something or did something. This is why Godaddy is still to this day, and probably for the life of the company, will continue to do things towards women, is because they created a brand from inception that was based on devaluing women. So now they can never really make that up. They can just consistently put out that we care, because we used to not care. No, it's not who we are now, but we don't, like, this is where we're at right now. These are people that have personal brands or did things that created controversy, that did things in the past. A prime example is Kevin Hart and the Oscars. He did something like 10, 11 years ago that were to the LBGQ2, I forget all of the letters, but I just know the LBGQ community. But he did something a long time ago that was very rightfully offensive towards them. Now you have 10 years later, he's to do the Oscars and someone brings it back up. Now, let's say Kevin Hart from 2000, I was just say 2009, I forgot when that tweet went out, when he did that comedy show. But let's say back then, between this time period now, he's always intentionally did something that brought attention to that community. Then at this point, when he has for the Oscars, then he's not hit with as much criticism because he hasn't been doing something to change. I won't say change his brand, because he's built this brand up like tremendously. I've watched the documentary, which is why I bring that up, but I watched the documentary and he's done some tremendous things. But it's difficult when you start your brand or your brand message one way and then you have to change it because internally you've changed, or you've understand that what you said or what you did back, or how the way that you presented your brand was very offensive and inconsiderate and insensitive. These are some of the words that I hear all the time to a certain community, such as women, such as LGBTQT, such as blacks, African Americans, Latins, whoever it may be. If you do something a long time ago, and then after that, you don't consistently do something to make up and say, hey, I've either changed as a person, which is your personal brand, or as a company, which is the company brand, then you will continue to get hit with the scrutiny and the criticism, because this is what people remember you by. But though this is just an example of you have to completely change your brand direction. Now, what GoDaddy is right now, they are very I know GoDaddy, I don't even think about what they did a long time ago. Of course, talk about branding, and this came to my mind, I was thinking to myself, what's a company that just tremendously changed their brand? We get a lot of clients and a lot of people that want to work with us and we'll get messages from our website, and it's we need a brand overhaul. And we get that very often. And so our first thing is okay, what's the message right now? Or have you even been putting anything out? And rather it be intentional or not, if you put it out there or not, what's the message that people are getting? We need to understand these details. Because when we understand that, after we understand that, the goods and the bads of it, we understand what we need to do to help you move into the right direction now. Now, this is based on digital, your website, consulting for social media, how your social media needs to be laid out. But for the most part, you have to understand those details so that as you do things in the future, these things can be presented. If GoDaddy did all of these things, but even if it was kind of kept under wraps or not as marketed or advertised as much as they do for women right now, they would still get hit with scrutiny and criticism because, hey, you took the time, effort, and finances to put out all of this about women in a very downgrade, in a way that wasn't positive. You spent a lot of finances on that, so why can't you market it out and put it out now? So this brand message and taking your brand and changing it or going through a brand overhaul, it has a lot to do with making sure that you put things into the right direction, and then you market and you advertise those things to present your brand message in a correct way. So with GoDaddy, now I'm mentioning this, a lot of anyone that's watching this, whether you're a marketing director or even an entrepreneur or a small business, you may not have as a drastic change as this. Maybe yours is more based on, hey, we started off with this and this is our message, but we've grown, we've changed our products, etc. So now this is the direction that we want to go. So it's not that you had a negative perception to your brand and now you need to change it to positive, but maybe it's just, hey, this is the perception that everyone has, but we do more than this, or we do even better than this now, and so now we need to change it. That's one thing, but then times evolve as well. This is the best way to put it. I'm gonna stand up with this. Can the camera follow me as I stand up? So this is how I'm gonna put it. This is the best way to put it. This is your brand. My handwriting is terrible, but it should be eligible. This is your brand. We're gonna say that your brand begins going this direction. Rather it be negative, or I'll say where you started. When I say where you started, I'm meaning that this is what you're known for when you first begin this brand. Now, there's two things that can happen. They can happen at the same time, or they can just happen in general. One is you get bad attention and you need to change it, such as a GoDaddy, or such as a Kevin Hart will say. So you get bad attention and now you need to change that. You got to go a completely different direction. We were going left, now we need to take this thing right. I'm freestyling this, but stick with me. Or the other one is that, hey, this is who we used to be, but now we have a better product now. We have things a lot better. So maybe you started, we'll just say it was based on I'll talk about us personally, right? With DATX, with ATX. We started off just doing websites, but now we've turned into this whole tech network, and we do websites, we have an innovatives team, we have incubators, etc. So now we need to show that we'll just say upgraded. I don't even know if I spelled that right. But regardless, we need to go the other way. Now, the other one is that bad attention or you upgraded. One of them that I forgot to put right here, and I'll add right here, is that times have evolved. This is a major one because, as I mentioned, yeah, they got bad publicity with it, but in 2005 with GoDaddy, you didn't have social media. If GoDaddy does that in 2020 or anytime 5 years back, Twitter would eat them alive because Twitter is what ate Kevin Hart alive with it, right? So when times evolve, you have to be able to evolve with them, and it's going to require change. Now, how far right this has to go, it's dependent. Now, for us, say for instance with websites, when I began the company, all I was doing was websites. The company evolved, and things evolved, but all we were doing was websites. It was based on solopreneurs, really small business owners like mom and pop shops. That's where it was going. Now, times evolved to where internally it started with me. Then I brought on a developer. Then we brought on 2 other developers. And then we brought on a project manager. And as times went on, we started to build up. Now, this is just upgrading. But times have evolved to where people can go build a website on what I was doing them on Wix.com, drag and drop, because I didn't know how to develop at first until I taught myself. But now I started to pay attention to our target audience, and now it's like, people don't just need a website. The website represents the brand and that brand message. So the marketing that's being done on social media, the marketing that's being done from billboard advertisements, the marketing that's been done on YouTube, video ads, commercial, etc., they need a website that's going to bring that brand together and show consistency and consulting with it. And so now we turned it from just, ATX the brand and ATX web designs as part of it. And it's not that we'd be a website that's like, hey, we understand that you need a brand overhaul and you need to go a completely different direction, or you just need a brand upgrade and we need to come in, consult, and change those things. Regardless of which one of these it may be, times evolve will always be something that goes, maybe every year, every 5 years, you call it, but you have to go a completely different direction. And when you go that completely different direction, you have to cater to your audience. And your audience may be different people. When we go through and we do brand overhauls and completely change the brand for clients, it's many different reasons. Meaning one of the reasons may be we need something that's going to attract our target audience more. We need to increase sales. Another one may be that shareholders are seeing that the website is outdated. We need to be able to have something that at least competes well enough with competitors. Or it may be that, as you've seen right here with GoDaddy, they had an employer branding problem. We need a website and we need something that's going to structure digitally online, whether it be website or social media, whatever we're putting out there. We need to make sure that it's centered towards potential employers that we want to have, and they can understand that they're valued. In this specific situation, it's based on women and women in tech. So GoDaddy is a very good. GoDaddy is a great example, and I wanted to use it because a lot of people do not know about this. Or you may think about it and be like, oh yeah, they used to do these type of ads. Depending on how old you are right now when you're watching this, you may not even knew that GoDaddy had these type of commercials. Another one that was controversial, I say that they took the NWA approach, which is all publicity is good publicity. At the moment, yeah, it was, and then they had to make that change and they had to evolve. But one of the things that, another controversial deal that they did, this wasn't really based on anything sexual provocative, but the animal community would tore them up these days too. There's a commercial, we'll play this one. There's a old truck driving like to a farm or a ranch, hits a bump. In the back of the truck is puppies. One of the puppies fly out of the back of the truck, lands in the grass. Puppy lands in the grass. Puppy gets up, Puppy starts walking towards the ranch, finds its way back home. Older lady picks it up, looks on the tablet and says, I'm happy you came back home. I just built a website and I was gonna sell you. But it's controversy with it, but the main thing that I want you to take away from this is that you can change your brand image if it's something negative. And then even outside of that, when you just need to go a completely different brand direction based on times evolve or based on you just upgrading and doing more within the company, you have a lot more going on, or employee branding. It's not a difficult process, but you need to understand that just as much as you put out the message that was negative or wasn't the direction that you used to have, you have to put the same efforts towards the new brand direction you're gonna have. This is Daniel Griggs. Thanks for tuning in. Every Tuesday and every Thursday, we're releasing a video based on brand. Check out atxthebrand.com. You can find more information on our YouTube page. We chat with you next week.